Happy to be joined by Adam Luckett of KSR, also of 11 Personnel and the KSR Football Podcast. Adam, how you doing, man?
Good, Adam. Thanks for having me on. Ready to talk some ball and a big game coming up here for Kentucky and kind of a unique time.
Yeah,
Well, definitely won't be boring here these next few weeks. I got a feeling.
you know what's funny is like back in the day when you played college football on PlayStation or whatever, like always hosted Texas just because I thought that was a fun matchup.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
now it's actually come to fruition that Texas is in the SEC and coming to Lexington.
Yeah. That's like to me, like the realignment stuff, I think is tough for a school like Kentucky because they're not adding bad teams or bad programs if they're going to,
Right.
expand the conference. So that's unfortunate, but it's also like, hey, you like Texas and Oklahoma are going to play games here. If you want, as a fan, if you wanted to go to Austin, you could have done that last year. If you want to go to Norman, you can do that when I think they go there next year now. So it's like, there's good and bad with everything. But yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it's going to be fun seeing, when they run out of the tunnel, it's going to be wow, Texas is really playing a game here.
Right, right. So, realistic shot. Is Kentucky in the game tomorrow, or is this going to be something like the South Carolina game?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think you'd have to me, it's all in the start and how Kentucky starts this game. Obviously, if you allow the defense to score two touchdowns, you're not going to be in any game. Specifically, Kentucky with how they labor to score points. But if it's a fast start or it's just even, I think early on it's got a really good chance. I think to be a close game in the fourth quarter. I think for Kentucky, this has got to be a total slugfest. Like this has got to be like a race to 17 points. Like the first one to get to 17, preferably in the fourth quarter. Like this is going to be the win game, be able to win the game. That's for Kentucky how they have to play it. Luckily, I think Texas is going to be comfortable playing that kind of game because their defense is the strength of their club. And then offensively, they've had some struggles this year, and they're going to be without two offensive line starters on Saturday and a first time center starting his first road game. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a conservative game plan from Sarkeesian. But I think that could play into Kentucky's hands in kind of the upset situation. For me in Kentucky, it's really just about like just hang around, stay in the game.
Yeah,
Don't lose it. Don't do something to lose it early in the game. Stay in the game and just see if you can get it into the fourth quarter and then, go ahead, let it rip and see if you got a chance then.
yeah. You mentioned the guys being out on Texas offensive line. The starting offensive line wasn't that great
Right.
against Florida. And what was the stat I heard? I don't know if I heard this from you or maybe on Leach's show, but something like 35 pressures on 42 dropbacks or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll pull it up here just a second if you get, but yeah, they totally got just dominated in that Florida game out of nowhere. 42 dropbacks. Arch Manning got pressured 26 times, took 6 sacks.
Good gracious.
And they didn't really run the ball that well. And Florida is not what I would say is some crazy kind of blitz your face off kind of scheme. They kind of play straight up. And so like
Mhm.
they just could not block them. And the two positions they've struggled at the most, Texas offensive line, is center and left guard. And the two starters out are the center and the left guard.
Right.
So the guys that were struggling aren't even playing. They're playing guys that haven't played yet. So they're having to go deep into their depth. And that was the biggest question mark for Texas entering this year was their offensive line. And it's been a really big problem. And it's part of the reason like their offense is struggling. And again, I think for Kentucky, you look at Kentucky's strength of the team, it's probably the defensive line,
Right.
specifically the defensive interior. And so if they can, really win that matchup and kind of dominate that matchup, I think Kentucky's going to have a chance in this football game.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you just nailed it. The defensive line is certainly the strength of the defense, but it's been funny that Kentucky has been getting pressure in every single game, and it's what do they do with that pressure? Like,
Sure.
does the quarterback leak out and complete a 15-yard pass for a first down, or do linebackers miss tackles on the QB and he scrambles for a first down? It's I have faith in the defensive line. It's just the rest of that defense. Can
Hmm.
they make plays?
Yeah, I think you look at like you bring up a good point, QB run, not necessarily design
Right.
carries, more scrambles or draws have hurt them. Gunnar Stockton, what do you have, two or three rushing touchdowns in that football game? Lenore Sellers, when they needed to have it, he could just go, scramble and go make something happen. That's been an issue. QB run has been an issue. I mean, I think you look at even the Ole Miss game there
Hmm.
at the end. Simmons gets hurt. They put in Chambliss, and he's able to run it down, and they end up kicking a field goal that drive to go up 10 when it was a 7-point game in the fourth quarter. Um, so, yeah, I think QB run has been an issue. And a lot of it, I think, is just the pursuing, tackling, pinning the football carrier down, keeping leverage on the ball. That's just been a major issue in this football game. And that's something that they said they worked on specifically, really intently over these last, 2 weeks, both game prep and the bye week. And so we'll see if they can fix it at all. But yeah, that's a major issue. And like, what's coming if you're Kentucky. You know what Texas is going to do.
Hmm.
Manny's going to get that ball and they're going to throw wide receiver screens and hitches and they're going to make you tackle in space. And until you stop that, they're going to keep doing it over and over again. So until Kentucky proves that they can stop that, they can expect to see that from every offense they play.
Right, right. I was actually joking. I guess after the Georgia game, I said it seems like Kentucky misses a dozen tackles a game, and I think it came out this past week that that's it's not too far off that
Yeah.
Kentucky misses a hell of a lot of tackles. So those screen throws, if you don't hit them at the line of scrimmage, they're gonna pick up those 10 yards.
And it's not just that. I think there's been, just leakage after contact too. There's a lot of times where Kentucky hits, where it should be a 4 yard gain and it turns like on 1st and 10, and it turns into 2nd and 2. And then it's like, well, what the hell, man. So that's just been a huge issue for this team. And it's really not been an issue over these last few years for the defense. They've typically been a good tackling football team.
Right.
And so it's just been alarming that that's been such a problem for them through 5 games.
Right. The tackling and the discipline has always been pretty much a hallmark of Stoops since he's been here, except, this year tackling is not great. Last year, the penalties and the discipline were an issue. It's getting to where it's like, what is our identity on defense? Because we kind of lost that over the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's this is kind of in the weeds. There's a conversation to be had. Have they like got schematically? Do teams just know how to attack them because they've been playing the same on
Mhm.
defense? Now, I think everything looks worse when you are inefficient tackling like they
Right.
are. Any kind of defense you play, if you're tackling like Kentucky is tackling right now, it's going to look pretty bad.
Mhm.
So I do wonder about that, but it just seems that teams are creating just chunk plays easier against them. They're getting into a lot of second and mediums, third and shorts a lot easier than they used to. I do wonder if there's maybe some schematic things that maybe they need to freshen up on because maybe teams have just kind of the book is out, for lack of a better phrasing. The book is maybe out on them, and teams just know how to attack them. So maybe it's something like maybe we've got to really switch some things up here. But I don't know if that's something you can do really in the season. That's something that you probably have to do outside of the year.
Yep. Yep. Tell me about Cutter Boley. What did you see from him the past couple of games? I'm coming off that first bye week, and now what do you expect from him coming off the second bye week?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we saw from Boley in the Georgia game was the rap on him has been decision making, ball security issues. And then Kentucky asked him to drop back 45 times, and he didn't turn the ball over. He only took 2 sacks. He took care of the football and made some throws. Was not spectacular in any way, shape, or form, but he kind of managed the game in controlled, not control. He controlled his controllables, I should say,
Right.
and just kind of handled. That was growth from what we've seen, I think, from him in the past, even back to when he was in high school. And so for him, you want to see, to me, I want to see him build on that. Can you do it again?
Mhm.
It's good defense. Can you again in this Texas game, specifically if it's close? Can you take care of the football? Can you not take bad sacks? And can you just keep the team in the game and make the easy throws? I think you saw him make the easy throws against Georgia, and then you saw him make a couple um, big time throws. I think like the fourth down throw to Cameron Miller, obviously, I think stands out. And
Mhm.
so for him, I think it was a good first step. And then you just want to see him kind of incrementally get better as the season goes on. So I think that was a really nice performance. I thought after everything that went bad against South Carolina, so a good step in the right direction for him. And now you want to see him take another step.
Right, right. If Kentucky doesn't front Texas any points, just by giving up defensive touchdowns, is this a game that you really think that we can hang around it? So, for instance, South Carolina, I really thought South Carolina's offense had been so bad up to that point that I thought if we don't give them free points, Kentucky wins that
Right?
game. And then they start off by giving up two defensive touchdowns.
Yeah,
Is this a similar game?
yeah. I think if Kentucky just takes care of the football, I think I would have a hard time seeing if unless Texas. I would have a hard time seeing Texas scoring more than like 24 points because they really haven't done it all year. And if Kentucky, they're probably going to get 10 to 14. So, yeah, over a full game, I would be surprised if it was just a total blowout.
Mhm.
I think really in this game for Kentucky, like they've thrown out the word methodical. I think it's really important that they're methodical and kind of conservative in this game. I think the goal for this game is to be like, all right, their offense is struggling. Let's have a good plan on defense and let's execute on defense. And as long as we're doing that, we're going to get some stops and then we're going to be able to string this in to the fourth quarter. And then we could have the advantage with being at home at night. Texas might get a little tight. And so that's you want to look for. The danger in that is Texas defense. It's really, really good. They forced a lot of turnovers. It's probably the best secondary they're going to play. I think three guys in the secondary already have multiple interceptions.
Mhm.
Um, so this is a dangerous defense you're going against. So that at any point they could just flip a game like that. So that would be the concern. But yeah, I think the plan would be just hang around in this game, make this a slugfest. Texas is going to be more than willing, I think, to kind of play in the mud. Um, and so if they do that, I think they're going to have Kentucky's going to have a chance to hang around.
Yeah. Yeah. And it might be literally playing in the mud with the forecast for Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
I think that plays in Kentucky's favor, correct? I mean, we want to ground and pound.
Yeah, that all that is true, but you have to remember Kentucky plays on turf, so there's not going to be like the conditions unless it's crazy wind. It's not going to really matter much. Where it would really matter is the ball security, like
Mhm.
fumbling, ball handling,
I think
all of
Texas
that.
is +6 in the turnover margin. Kentucky's
Right.
-2.
That's where I
So
look. Yes, when I hear rain potentially in the forecast in this where Kentucky will be rain and wind. Specifically, wind can really affect the passing game, but rain not so much. I mean, it can actually give you a little bit of advantage, I think, if you're on offense. But the ball security is where things could get, you know, dangerous. Now, Arch Manning has had some ball security issues:
mhm.
5 interceptions, 2 fumbles through 6 games. So, a turnover a game, just a little bit over that for him. So that's been an issue for him. And then Kentucky, they've been good. Really, it was just the South Carolina game. Just was the if you just throw that out, they've actually been really good protecting the football to this point
Right.
this year. So if you can keep that up, I think you're going to have a chance. But yeah, if you're going to break down the game even more so, be hard to envision Kentucky winning this without having a plus in that turnover column.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't see him on the injury report, but Seth McGowan good to go. I know he kind of had that hamstring or whatnot against Georgia.
Yeah, I think all signs are pointing he'll be good to go. I think that most of that stuff was precautionary. I got the sense that he maybe could have played through that at Georgia, but the game was kind of out of hand at that point, and then they just decided to take him out. And so but yeah, I think I haven't heard anything different. So expecting him to be full go Saturday night.
Good deal. Good deal. So if when you get up Sunday, if you hadn't seen the game, you look at the box score, what does it have to show that Kentucky went? Is it that Boley, has over 250 passing? Is it McGowan ran for 140? What are you looking for?
I would look rushing yards, just like who won the rushing battle. How close was that? Did one team have a decided advantage over the other? Um, in a game that I think could be kind of a rock fight, I think that's whoever wins that's going to have that can be it doesn't always say that, but most times it can tell you who wins the line of scrimmage. And
Yeah.
so I would look there first, and then I would look turnovers. That would be the first two areas I would look in a traditional box score with these two teams.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I certainly think Kentucky has the pieces. It's just putting it together. Coming off bye weeks has never been Stoops's. forte. But that's again why you play the games, and
That's right.
I think they have a more than better shot. I wouldn't say it's 50-50, but I would give Kentucky a decent chance to pull this off tomorrow.
I think it's a circle the wagons game. If they don't come out and really play inspired in this spot, I don't know if they got it in them for the rest of the year,
Right,
right?
right.
Like this is definitely a spot where okay, if we've got one kind of rallying the troops moment left in us,
It's
you would
this.
see it in
Yeah.
this. So I would be surprised if they didn't play inspired, and I think they will keep it close again. This is Texas's third game away from home in a row. That's a hard deal in college
Hmm.
football. They're coming off an emotional game against Oklahoma.
Hmm.
They're ripe a little bit for a little bit of a letdown. So yeah, I think I just wouldn't be surprised if if I had a button to say take me to the start of the fourth quarter at Kroger Field Saturday night, and you look up and it's a one score game one way or the other
Yeah.
there with and the fans are actually probably had the most into it they've been maybe all year at that point. I just wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
Yeah, yeah. Only our second night game at Kroger Field, and I believe our first SEC night game.
That's right.
Yeah. So as much conversation as we've heard of buyouts and talk about Stoops, like I fully expect the crowd to be pretty lit tomorrow.
Yeah, I think again, what I talked about the importance for Kentucky's team to start fast.
Mhm.
I think it's important to get the crowd in the game
Yeah.
by starting fast. If you don't start fast, bad things start happening. People aren't going to be happy. They'll probably be voicing their displeasure, and then it
Hmm.
might be harder to get them into the game when you might really need them. So I
Right.
think it's important to. I caught this game very much so to the Georgia game last year.
Hmm.
Georgia, we didn't know it at the time, but they had major offensive line issues that were a problem all season for them. Like
Hmm.
they struggled to run the ball all year. Carson Beck got hit a ton. Like it was a huge problem for them. Well, we know a little bit more about Texas, and we know the offensive line is a major problem. But similar to the Georgia game, their defense was awesome. Georgia's defense was awesome. Texas's defense is awesome. So for Kentucky, and I think Kentucky kind of weirdly is in a similar spot team wise. It was kind of, I think it was a circle the wagons moment
Hmm.
for that team. I think the fan base was kind of in a similar mental state. Um, because they were real. I think everyone was really upset and really down after how that South Carolina game went last year, and obviously, I think that's the case this year. And Texas is built similarly, I think, to Georgia. So I would not be surprised if the game plays out very similar to
Yeah.
that game two
Yeah.
years ago. The only question I have: we think Kentucky's front is good, but Kentucky's front last year totally controlled that game. And that was why they had a really good chance to win. Can Kentucky's defensive front do that in this matchup? We'll have to wait and see. But I could definitely see that happening. But then again, Kentucky didn't have the perimeter tackling issues they're having right now. So that would be my biggest concern. But there's a lot of, I think, similarities
Yeah.
with both spot and opponent between those two games.
Yeah. I think if you can get to fourth quarter and you're within a score, I mean, that's all you can hope for if you're Kentucky and a Kentucky fan to see, what they can do, a positive outcome. You always talk about the middle eight, and that's been just atrocious this year. Is it the schematics? Is it play calling? Is it on the QB and wide receiver? What is it?
Yeah, I think defensively, they're not as strong as they usually are. So that's obviously played a role in that. Offensively, just how Kentucky wants to play on offense is not how you have to play in that kind of situation, right? In a 2 minute situation, that's taking them out of their comfort zone. And I think Stoops has a hard time reading the situation a lot of times on what to do, on when to be aggressive, when to not. I think overall their philosophy is we're running it, and if we pop a run, then we'll get aggressive. But I just don't think it just seems like he doesn't have a good feel for like the buttons to press. I think it's harder to press those buttons if you don't trust your quarterback and you don't operate in a way where you have a level of comfort in
Hmm.
a drop back heavy situation like that. Some teams are better at it because they operate in that drop back heavy world a lot more than Kentucky does. Kentucky doesn't operate in that world. They never want to be in that. Like
Mhm.
you hear them talking, they talk like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 38 sometimes.
Right.
It's like, well, you know, you're not a disaster third. It doesn't have to be a disaster 3rd and 7. It's only 7 yards. Like, um, so I just don't. I think it's a combination of all those things. And this year's, I think, looked worse because mainly because I think the defense
Mhm.
has just been a big problem in a lot of ways.
Yeah, your co-host Van Hals always talks about Kentucky this year has to scheme wide receivers open, and with all that eye candy or whatnot, is that a huge problem of the 2 minute offense that you're putting guys in motion and running the play clock down when you're supposed to be snapping the ball?
Yeah, that doesn't help. No, that doesn't help. That they have to try so hard just to get easy completions that
Hmm.
other offenses can get in their sleep.
Hmm.
Doesn't help. No.
Yeah. What about the freshman wide receivers that really popped up against Georgia? I think that is a reason for optimism if you're trying to mix things up and trying to find what works.
Yeah, I definitely think Kentucky's in a bit of kind of an evaluation period. There's still 7 games, and you
Yeah.
still got to play the players that you think give you the best chance to win. But you also need to recognize the season's a little sideways. You could get pretty sideways. You have to figure out what is on your team and figure out how you need to allocate your resources in the portal once this
Hmm.
season ends. And so you owe it to the program to find out like what do you have in some of these receivers and who can be good starters for you next year potentially. Cameron Miller flashed. There's DJ Miller's another guy who was going to play all year but had some type of injury in fall camp. Is just now healthy. So I think you owe it to yourselves to get them kind of in the game and figure out if they can help you at
Yeah.
all and what kind of connection they can have with Cutter Bowley. And so I definitely think you'll see that, but it's kind of a fine line because you do have to still try to win the game, but you also have to try something else. And whatever they're trying right now with these other receivers is not working. So at least just letting them play and see what they can do. You at least
Yeah.
owe that to the team. But at other positions, you can't just say, "Well, we're going to play the freshman right now." You still got to play the players you think gives you the best chance to win. But at receiver, it's interesting because the veterans aren't performing right now, and so you can maybe try to get some of those young guys in the game. And I think you'll see some of that start on Saturday.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, hopefully they perform up to the task and Kentucky can hang in there and possibly pull out a victory. Um, did you happen to make it to Adam Sandler last
I
night?
did not. I did not. Me and my wife actually looked at because he's coming to Yum Center in Louisville too. We actually looked at getting tickets there, but we ended up not doing it. So
No.
yeah, I bet he's good. I enjoy his little special on Netflix, and I've heard he's really good live. So
I thought it was pretty cool him standing next to the basketball team, but he's standing next to Pope, and Pope looks,
yeah,
he looks all of 7 foot next to Adam Sandler. I didn't realize, the size discrepancy there.
yeah. Pope makes a lot of people look like that. It's like the picture with Pat Kelsey of them shaking
Yeah,
hands. It's like, oh wow,
yeah,
you forget how tall them guys are sometimes.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Adam, I appreciate you hopping on here to join the conversation. Always willing to talk ball. Love Kentucky football, no matter how it looks sometimes. But I appreciate you hopping on to talk, and hopefully we talk again here in the future.
No problem, man. Happy
Thanks,
happy
Adam.
happy to join you. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it.